The dust swirled in the wind, curling around the boots of the alien soldiers. 1,000 armored figures stood in perfect formation, their silver-blue armor shining under the pale sun. Above them, the sky was filled with the dark shadows of warships, their massive hulls blocking the light. General Zyrth, tall and fierce, stood at the front. His insect-like eyes scanned the empty plain in front of him. No walls, no barricades, no human soldiers. A slow, rumbling laugh escaped his mandibles. "They've given up," he said to his officers. "They know resistance is useless." The aliens around him chuckled. To them, humans were unpredictable, but primitive. They fought with strange ideas, yes, but against a full Imperial fleet? Impossible. This battle was already won. But far away, on a ridge overlooking the plain, a small group of humans watched in silence. They were dressed in dusty armor, helmets off, faces calm. At their center stood Captain Mara Vance, her eyes locked on the alien army below. "They're spreading out just like we predicted," Mara said quietly. Her voice carried no fear, only control. One of her lieutenants shifted uneasily. "They think we have nothing. They're too confident." "That's the idea," Mara replied. Beneath her calm tone was something else: anticipation. From the alien point of view, this was nothing more than a dusty field. For the humans, this was a carefully prepared trap. Across the plain, small metallic rods jutted out of the ground at strange angles, each no taller than a knee. They were rusted, dented, half-buried. The aliens had seen them and dismissed them instantly. Scrap, junk, nothing worth their attention. But Mara knew the truth. "Hold position," she ordered into her come. Her soldiers, hidden in bunkers, far below the surface, waited with hands on controls. General Zyrth raised a clawed arm. "Forward," he commanded. The first wave of alien troops began to march, boots crunching against the dirt. The sound of their steps echoed across the plain then. It happened. A low hum spread through the ground. It was faint at first, like a vibration deep in the bones. The aliens slowed, glancing around. "Do you hear that?" One muttered in their own language. The hum grew louder. Beneath their armored feet, the earth seemed to tremble. Mara's eyes narrowed. She placed a hand on the small device clipped to her wrist. "Not yet," she whispered. Her second in command, Sergeant Cole, looked at her. "They're almost in position." "Almost isn't good enough," Mara said. Her gaze remained fixed on the alien ranks. The metallic rods, scattered across the plain, began to shake. Dust slid down from them, revealing faint blue lights underneath. The aliens noticed now. Confusion rippled through their lines. "What is this?" General Zyrth hissed. One of his officers bent down, scanning the nearest rod. "It's not a marker. It's connected to something underground." The hum grew into a deep, mechanical growl. The ground shifted beneath the aliens' feet. Small cracks appeared in the dirt, widening, revealing flashes of metal. From the ridge, Mara smiled slightly. "Mark." She tapped the device on her wrist. The plane exploded into motion. Metal plates erupted from the earth, snapping upward. Like jaws, massive sections of the ground tilted and folded, forming walls taller than 3 soldiers. The once flat battlefield transformed into a maze of moving steel. Alien soldiers stumbled and fell as the terrain itself betrayed them. What had been dirt moments ago was now a shifting network of armored panels, rising on hydraulic limbs. Some slammed together, trapping squads between them. Others rotated to reveal weapon ports. From the command ship, alien officers shouted, "Over each other? This isn't possible." There were no structures here. But there were. They had been here all along, buried beneath the surface, hidden in plain sight. The rods the aliens had dismissed as junk were control nodes, the triggers for the human defense system, and now it was awake. Captain Mara watched the chaos unfold. Her soldiers underground activated more systems, heat vents releasing, scalding steam, shock panels, discharging arcs of electricity, walls shifting to separate the alien formation into isolated pockets. "This is our battlefield," Mara said softly. "You built it under their feet?" From the alien ranks, General Zayeth roared in anger. His troops scrambled to regroup, but the ground was alive, fighting against them. The noise was deafening. Now the hiss of steam, the screech of moving metal, the sharp crack of energy discharges, and then came the final sound, a deep, earth-shaking mechanical roar from directly beneath the alien army. The plates in the center of the plane split. Apart from the gap rose something massive, a war machine unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. It was shaped like a crouched beast, all armor and weaponry, its surface bristling with rotating barrels and missile pods. Its eyes, two burning red lights, locked onto the nearest alien formation. For the first time, General Zayeth felt something unusual. Not anger, not confidence, but fear. Mara's voice came through, the comes calm and steady. "Welcome to Earth's way of war," machine's cannons charged with a rising whine. The alien soldiers froze, staring at the impossible trap they had walked into. And then the plane, the machine, and the humans, watching from the ridge, roared into battle. When the ground fights back, the ground didn't just roar, it shifted. Dust exploded upward as the plane cracked open in jagged lines. The alien troops stumbled, their armored boots scraping against suddenly tilting terrain. General Zayeth snarled and steadied himself. "What is this? An earthquake?" His second-in-command, a wiry insectoid named Krill, scanned the readings. "No seismic activity on record, General. This is artificial." From her vantage point in the hills, Captain Mara Vance watched through binoculars. The alien army was exactly where she wanted them, standing over the hidden trap her engineers had been building for months. She lowered the binoculars and spoke into her headset. Phase 1. Now. Beneath the aliens, massive slabs of reinforced alloy shifted like the plates of a giant machine. To the invaders, it looked like the ground was alive. The soldiers' formation broke as they stumbled backward. One soldier, braver than the rest, jabbed his spear-like weapon into the ground. Sparks burst out, and his weapon shattered. The alien froze, staring at the hole he had made. The ground wasn't dirt at all. It was metal disguised under a thin layer of dust and debris. The alien army murmured in confusion. General Zayeth growled, "They built this on our target. World? How?" Krill's antennae twitched. "General, there's something under us. Something big." That was when the low hum became a deafening thrum like the heartbeat of a giant. Circular plates in the ground began to rotate, locking into place. Alien soldiers backed away, but there was no escape. The shifting plates had already surrounded them. From the hills, Mara watched the chaos unfold. Her voice was calm, almost cold. "They think we fight with guns," she murmured to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Ortega. "They have no idea the ground itself is our weapon." One massive plate lifted upward, revealing a dark hollow beneath. Something in that darkness began to glow, a burning red light. The aliens raised their weapons instinctively. Then the first blast came. A column of compressed plasma shot straight out of the ground, hitting one of the alien hover tanks and melting it into slag in seconds. Screams erupted across the battlefield. The alien commander barked orders, but the soldiers. Fear spread like wildfire. Their scanners couldn't track the source. Every inch of the ground was shifting, opening, and attacking. From the human command posts, the engineers worked in perfect rhythm, controlling the massive underground defense grid. It had been designed not to keep enemies out, but to lure them in. As another plasma burst took out an entire squad, Mara gave her next order: seal the exits. They don't leave until they learn what they stepped on. The aliens had thought the humans were hiding, but now it was the invaders who were trapped. The ground itself was still waking up. The alien troops were no longer marching, they were scrambling. The once flat plain now looked like the broken shell of some colossal creature. Plates of metal rose and fell, locking together like puzzle pieces, cutting the army into smaller and smaller groups. General Zayeth slammed his fist into his cum device, pulled back, regroup, but the exits were gone. Great walls of alloy had risen from the dust, sealing them in like prey inside a hunting trap. From the control room, Captain Mara Vance watched every movement through a grid of holographic displays. Her fingers tapped on a glowing panel. "They still think it's a human invention," she said quietly. "They don't know we found it." Here, Lieutenant Ortega frowned. "Do we tell them?" Mara shook her head. "Not yet." Beneath the alien army, deeper than they could imagine, an ancient engine came to life. The vibration was so deep it made bones ache. The ground's glow turned from red to white-hot, and a faint rhythmic pulse began. Thum, thum, thum. One alien soldier knelt, placing his hand on the vibrating metal. His mandibles clicked nervously. "General, this is not human-made. This is alive." Zerth turned sharply. "Alive?" Before the soldier could answer, the plate under him shot upward like a piston, launching him into the air, before slamming him back down. His body armor cracked on impact. Mara's voice echoed over a loudspeaker now, carrying across the battlefield. "You wanted to see human defenses?" she called out. "You're standing on one?" The alien commander snarled. "Not yourself, coward." "Not yet," Mara replied. "You haven't met it properly." At that moment, the largest plate, yet lifted from the center of the plane, rising higher and higher until it revealed a massive circular aperture. Inside, rows of rotating mechanisms spun faster and faster, glowing like the heart of a star. Ancient symbols were carved into the surrounding metal, unreadable even to human scientists, but they radiated purpose. The hum grew into a roar. Suddenly, great metallic arms shot out from the aperture, each tipped with brutal bladed ends. They moved with terrifying precision, sweeping through alien ranks. Armor split like paper. The air filled with sparks, smoke, and the metallic scream of weapons colliding. Krill's voice shook. "General, this isn't a weapon they built. This is a machine from before either of our species existed." Zyrth felt a chill crawl up his spine. The humans hadn't made the ground their weapon. Trapped titans. The alien army was in chaos. The battlefield they thought was empty had become a nightmare of shifting walls, bladed arms, and searing heat. Every step they took, the ground changed shape, swallowing soldiers, crushing vehicles, cutting off. "Retreat." General Zyrth's voice barked over the coms. "Focus fire on the central mechanism. Bring it down." Heavy plasma cannons swung into position. A volley of green energy blasted toward the towering aperture. The blasts hit. But the metal shimmered, absorbing the attack like water-swallowing stones. A ripple of light spread across the surface, and then the machine responded. 4 immense panels of the ground tilted upward, forming giant shields that completely blocked the aliens' line of fire. From behind these shields, long spear-like appendages shot out, piercing alien artillery units in seconds. Inside the human control hub, Captain Mara smiled faintly. "They're doing exactly what I hoped." Lieutenant Ortega watched as holographic red dots, enemy units, vanished one by one from the display. "There's still too many. How long until Phase 2? Mara's hand hovered over a second control switch now. She pressed it. The entire plane lurched. The ground split in massive, jagged lines, separating into moving sections like the scales of some ancient beast. Aliens lost their footing, sliding into deep gaps that immediately sealed shut, trapping them below. Inside one of those gaps, muffled screams echoed, then silence. Krill, the alien second-in-command, was shaking. "General, the humans are controlling this thing as if it's their own warship." Zyphus' mandibles twitched in frustration. "No, they're not just controlling it. They understand it." Overhead, a section of the sky darkened. The humans had released drones, hundreds of them, each no larger than a bird, but each armed with cutting beams. They swarmed over. Alien troops, carving through weapons and armor with surgical precision. And still, the humans remained far from the battlefield. Not one soldier had fired a rifle. Through the loudspeaker, Mara's voice cut through the chaos again. "You came to take this colony. The ground beneath you is older than your empire. We woke it up. We learned its language. And now," she paused as another alien tank vanished into a closing pit. "It knows you are the enemy. A deep, thunderous boom rose from beneath, shaking the plane. The aperture in the center began to widen. Something larger was coming. Zyrth felt it, not just fear, but the sick realization that this battle was no longer about territory. The humans were showing the galaxy that even the very ground could be their weapon. The ground stopped shaking. For a brief, unnatural moment, the battlefield went still. No movement from the shifting plates, no hum from the machines. Even the alien drones hovering in the air paused mid-flight, as if listening. Then came the sound. It wasn't a roar, and it wasn't an explosion. It was deeper, a slow, resonating thrum, like a heartbeat echoing through metal and stone. General Zyrth felt it in his bones.
What are they doing now?
He growled. I kept. Mara Vance wasn't doing anything. Her fingers hovered above the controls, frozen. She glanced at Lieutenant Ortega, her eyes wide. That isn't me. The aperture in the center of the plane was widening, but not smoothly. Jagged, grinding sounds filled the air as slabs of earth and metal tore apart. Massive columns, each as thick as a skyscraper, rose into the air. They weren't weapons. They were legs. The alien troops stumbled backward as the ground itself stood up. Dust and debris rained from above as the ancient construct emerged. It was no longer just a defense system. It was a colossal, insect-like war machine buried for centuries under the plane. Its body stretched for hundreds of meters, its surface covered in strange, glowing symbols that pulsed like veins of fire. Ortega whispered, "It's alive." The machine's head turned, if it could be called a head, scanning the battlefield with two blazing eyes of molten gold. It wasn't looking at the aliens. It wasn't looking at the humans. It was looking at everyone. Through the comes an unfamiliar voice crackled. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien. You have awakened me. This world was mine before you walked upon it? XYRTH snarled, speaking to us. What is it? Mara's voice was quiet, almost reverent. An Ark Guardian, built by a civilization so old, we've only found fragments and ruins. This whole plane, it's been sleeping on top of it. The Guardian's head tilted. I was meant to protect this place, but invaders have come. Its gaze fixed on the alien army, and for the first time since landing, Zyrth felt real fear. A sudden beam of blinding light shot from the Guardian's core, slicing through an entire alien column in a single stroke. The ground under the remaining troops heaved violently, flinging them into the air like leaves in a storm. But then, the Guardian's head turned again. Its molten eyes locked on the human colony in the distance. Mara's smile faded. Oh no, the Guardian's voice deepened. All invaders, the humans had woken something they could not fully control, and now it saw everyone as the enemy. Enemies of my enemy. The Guardian's molten eyes burned like twin suns, sweeping over the field. Its voice rolled across the battlefield, low and terrible. Leave this world, or be destroyed. Alien General Zyrth barked an order to his troops. All weapons, fire at will. Green plasma bolts streaked through the air, striking. The Guardians armored shell, but they fizzled, leaving nothing but scorched dust. The war machine didn't even slow down. Captain Mara Vance slammed her fist onto the comm panel. Cease fire. You're making it angry. Zyrth's voice snarled back through the channel. It's already angry. The Guardian stepped forward, each movement a quake, and swung one massive leg, crushing an alien assault tank like a tin can. Its energy beam swept the field again, incinerating both alien mechs and human drone outposts in a single pass. It wasn't fighting. Aside, it was cleansing the land. Mara turned to Lieutenant Ortega. We can't outgun that thing. But maybe we can outsmart it. Ortega frowned. You're thinking of yes? Mara cut in. The spine charges? Every colony had them buried deep underground. Massive shaped explosives meant to collapse tunnels during an invasion. They were never designed for use against a target above the surface. But then again, humans had a habit of using things for purposes they were never designed for. Opened a direct channel to Zert. H. You want to live? You help me? There was a pause, then reluctantly. I'm listening, human. Minutes later, humans and aliens moved together, not as allies, but as survivors. Alien plasma cannons drew the Guardian's attention, keeping its head turned away. Human engineers tunneled rapidly, planting the spine charges in a ring under its legs. The ground shook harder now. The Guardian was accelerating, its beam carving swaths of destruction toward the colony. "Now, Vance," Ortega shouted. Mara slammed the detonator. The earth erupted. Columns of fire and debris shot skyward as the plane beneath the Guardian collapsed inward, dropping the colossal machine into a pit of its own battlefield. It roared, not mechanical, but alive with rage, as the charges triggered in sequence, tearing at its joints. But it wasn't dead yet. Half buried, the Guardian still tried to rise, molten eyes blazing. That's when Mara gave her final order: turn the pit into a weapon. The aliens, confused but desperate, poured every shot into the loose rock and unstable structures above the crater. With the spine charges having shattered the ground, the ridge above finally gave way, thousands of tons of stone and metal crashing down on the Guardian's frame. When the dust finally settled, the battlefield was silent. No Guardian, no movement. Only the shattered remains of an ancient machine buried once more. Lytha's voice came over the cum, low and grudging. "Humans, you used the ground itself as your weapon." Mara's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Everything is a weapon, even what you're standing on."